testing each other. Now Jargu's almost out of build. Some get past at the last second, and they're able to run past, take out dash, keep it in their favor, and Veer falls as well. And that's a full wipe right there. That was one that I thought was going to go the other way, but you got to give Silic the credit for getting that opened up elimination.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where you look back, you say, man, we shouldn't have won that fight. They had a disadvantage. They got snuck up on. They were pushed out of the Kappa Kappa. And all of a sudden, Silic with the one big play turns the entire momentum right back around. Well, look, now they have all the time in the world to go ahead and work to refarm their way back into this game. Let's see what they can do. That huge performance. caiganle-vert and Esho, though. Seen a lot of this team here. Continuing the fight at the Magic Mosses. It's up against Noah plays trio.
Right now, it seems like if you look at the bubble for global spots, almost 100 or so points down. Noah Plays is already down as well. Taki, he's trying to get distracted down below. Esho uses that to his advantage, able to jump onto Chaos Game and get another elimination. Now Kaz is left by himself, but at least for now, Monster, there's a little bit of distance between him and those two opponents still looking around to figure out where he's at.
Yeah, they don't know exactly where he is just yet, and there's another trio moving in extremely quickly. Could that be Peterbot's team? Could that be... Oh, okay, it's Reet, Curly on the way alongside Cooper there. Taki and Eshu now looking to kind of double back, pair up with one another. Shots come in. Trio wasting no time, letting their presence be known.
Uh-oh. Fourth team now enters into the mix, probably an additional team coming from Whiffy. And we see it, Monster, it's just outside of Magic Mosses. So a lot of these teams that do land up here, instead of kind of cutting towards the side, beelining it to zone, they could go all the way towards the north. One tick zone damage isn't going to be much, and then they could try to get into where it isn't as congested, maybe above Demon's Dojo, maybe above Pump Power. Those are going to be some of the pivotal spots for any of these teams rotating early. And for caiganle-vert and Esho, the longer you stay here in this position, you're closing off opportunities, you're closing off options, all for a singular elimination, which might not necessarily mean much. It's only 4 points.
It was Amplify and Shiny Cat there. Take a look at the replay here.
Oh, no.
Clicks. A little bit of fall damage. Just giving you guys the full picture here. Off to a rocky Game 7 right now. Seems like they're just rolling up to the Flutter Frogs here shortly as well. So determined to play deep in the storm. There's also 3 trios in the vicinity here. They cut this one player off and in they go.
And only cut him off. They get a knock. So far away from the rest of his team, and this is a little bit of a different strat, Monster. Yes, the zone plays a huge role as it's going away from the north side overall, but now Click, Siamzo, and Higgs, if there's anything left over in that black market, they have an abundance of gold from their Lone Wolf POI they could finally use, and this is something they were not able to do yesterday because of where the zones were pulling. It would have been way too risky for them to go into the black market, possibly get stuck there, possibly get stuck overall. A lot of risk associated with that. And now they're going above and around, so that way they can go ahead and be behind every single one of these teams rotating in and give them the option to visit that black market, because they do have some extra splashes and men miss smoke, so they can stagger as long as they want.
It's a really good point. Take a look at the key, though. Clicks jumping right on into the mix of things here. Makes you wonder, why was this team sitting around this long? This hurt. If they saw that there was a trio nearby, didn't even take the time to cap off, but neither here nor there. It's going to bring Clicks' trio up to 3 eliminations. These Elims extremely important in allowing them to start closing that point gap for Elim so early in the game is a massive come up. Remember, each elimination is worth 4 points.
I think it was about 41 points. Peterbot Cole, the Ritual, did have a lead. Those 4 eliminations, just like you said, is doing a good job of cutting down that lead before placement points even begin to set in. 27 teams still left alive, 77 players. Zone hovered over Pump Power, and that's where you saw a lot of those Western North teams begin to rotate into. So if it continues in this trend, it could end up being one of the stacked parts of the zone. Even more so stacked if it continues to pull towards the north. So I think a lot of these teams are hoping just a little bit for South Pool. Oh, no.
Bucky getting active right now on our third place.
It's big.
Visuals, a Minish Braids here. Visuals already taken down right now. Okis traded off as well, but the chomp comes through. See the kneecapper come out to go and make sure he mitigates any potential damage there, and Bucky gives up the high ground right now. I'm gonna go ultimate low. Cam's got another side angle here, but the pressure is on right now for this trio.
Yeah, even though Okis is down, with that elimination, it's only gonna be Braids and Cam still left alive on the other side, so a 2v2. They just gotta be very, very careful. And I think that's why a Minish, Braids, Visuals, they land over towards Foxy. Floodgates, they can disengage out of this position, run towards the back. It's relatively early in the game, so not too chaotic of Storm's damage is going to go off. Plus, you see some extra heals there. But Braids is hiding towards the top. So you got to wonder if you're Bucky and Cam, do you think they disengaged all together as he's able to land some free damage onto Cam? You got to hope he has HP now because he could go down in the zone.
Oh, yeah, the med mist starts to come out. They're actually forced now to kind of double up here, and this is going to buy time for the reboot where they can't even look up to go ahead and target him. So, honestly, a very successful reboot and just a small play that's going to make the difference here at the Floodgates, allowing Visuals to get right back to his loot pile here. And it's little things like that that all of a sudden help you kind of bounce back into the game. And just think about this. Braids, Diminish, and Visuals didn't finish less than 11th place yesterday. The difference maker between them and the teams up in first and second was the fact that the eliminations that Peterbot's trio, Clix's trio, were able to accumulate far outweighed the placement points overall.
That's well said.
Pushing right now. What?
Oh, Minish is feeling a little confident right now. He takes a big shot, but Cam is now running his way in. He's smoothly running through those builds like a hot knife through butter. That's a good amount of confidence as well. And Minish forced to use the splashes. There goes the HP. 91 damage above the threshold. You could see with the Minish getting knocked down early, taken down by Peterbot. Another elimination on the Visuals. They need the surge.
Yeah,
and they need it bad.
Coming from the other angle right now, and they slam Cam here right in the mix, and then they get the down body as well. So a perfect amount of damage swinging in their favor here. Bucky just left wondering what went wrong. How did his teammate get left behind right there, caught out of position?
Yeah, and this is just turning into a nightmare. Yeah, he's below. He can't go back into the zone and reboot his teammates. Otherwise, he's going to fall further and further below. Good luck to Bucky as we jump on board Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual all the way to Seaport from Crime City. Making these quick rotations outside of the zone. 500 plus damage above the threshold. I feel bad for Polus and his trio. Not the most experienced. Make it into a grand finals, and then in game one to start day two, you're running into Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual.
Yeah, but they hold their own, pushing off Cold and Ritual here for a moment's time. And it makes you wonder if Peterbot plays any better. If we see that game 6 Peterbot come out yesterday, with how good Ritual and Cold were performing all throughout the 6 games, they could really find a breakaway moment. But so far, this completely eastern pool here for the zone is still going to end up veering slightly towards the north. But again, a little different than the games that we saw yesterday for the most part.
Yeah, and they're just using this to their advantage, not even going towards the zone or where it was. They're just beelining straight towards the zone. They know not too many players are going to be on top of that mountain on the outside. If they have enough heals, maybe even get eliminations to utilize that siphon, this could be the play that wins them or puts them in the best position here for game number 1. Couple knocks going down. Bucky actually going down to the Storm overall. Storm Surge and him being a solo just didn't work out for him as a Minish still down, stuck between 2 different teams. One of them being Cold and Peterbot, who are quickly moving on over.
Yeah, after that knock right there, look at how quickly they're trying to come in for the refresh here potentially. And if you're Visuals, Diminish, and Braids, you got to put up a front right now. You got to put up a defensive hold here. Not only for the damage, but because you got Peterbot's trio inching up on your positioning right now for this prime real estate here. Oh, look, Braids takes off. They're going towards the mountain.
It's a bit of a risky play. You see there's just chunks, big chunks of HP missing. They don't have any resources to kind of make that up, and they're just pushing straight in. This might be a blessing though. Joshi's already down. Aoxy's there. If they get the elimination onto 1, even if it's not the points, they're still able to get the loot that they need. Damage for Storm Surge, 51 above, feeling a little bit more comfortable, and that's an understatement because the Minish just goes in and bulldozes that trio back to the lobby.
I'm trying to figure out, like, how did they know? Like, they catch a Minish with extremely, again, low HP out in the open, but he keys up the mountain and found an even weaker team. They must have been taking a small fight there just before that, before Peterbot kind of put his 2 cents into the mix here. But either way, phenomenal play to keep them in the game right there. Meanwhile, complete other side of the zone here. Click6 and the Obzo got to be happy that they're rotating kind of the dead side northern area here, because they're on the opposite side of Peterbot, right? Just staying away from the juggernauts that toppled them over, right? Kind of threw off their entire mid game yesterday in game number 6.
You see, they were the only team, though, to get 2 victory royales yesterday. And honestly, I like this positioning on the zone. If it pulls anywhere but south, they are in one of the best spots in the zone so far, getting ready for these next moving zones. But if it does pull south, not just them, but everybody else on this side of the zone is going to have some trouble trying to make it up over that mountain on the other side. You see so many teams already positioned with that elevation, looking down at the side, not just the Yamzo, but he does land a shot on the Creon, who seems like he might be by himself. I don't see his teammates anywhere. That might be one of the few solos left in this lobby.
I wouldn't put it past the Yamzo's team to get this refresh right here, given how weak that team below them is. Datko, Muzz, and Rise. You talk about the double VRs yesterday. You have to put this team in the conversation. They were the squad fighting for first and second in those back-to-back games. Just incredible performance, particularly from Japco. But hold up. Back to Minish, Braids, and Visuals. That elimination, not enough, but it buys them a little bit of time. Now, they have to fight for damage here. Only 2 minis here. We knew that they didn't have much to work with before. Visuals kind of caught out of position there. Unfortunately, taking way too much damage here. The water sprite picked up, and then the elimination on the tail end. They are really fighting for their placement right now on the standings, but no, the lobby starts to focus in. Even with the big 5 eliminations, they can't catch a break.
Yeah, slow to rotate. Max pull all the way towards the western side of this mountain. Everything's stacked against them now because they don't have any material either. At least the Minish does not. No extra shields. And there's a team waiting right next to him, and you really just at their mercy. It doesn't even know about the full trio right behind him. So as soon as he begins this rotation, if he doesn't watch out, that could be his demise. But he's trying to land some shots because he knows Monster, even though Storm Surge did deactivate, he knows once it turns on yet again, they are going to be below that threshold. They are going to be a duo, and they're going to have to figure it out quick.
Oh, I was just about to say, no way. Braze sets up the target fire with Acorn Shiro from up top. Nearly had a full elimination set up for him, but opts to go ahead and heal a little bit more passively instead here. Very limited material. Notice that Braids had to split his mats with Visuals here. Sorry, with the Menace, just to keep them in the game right now. And they are desperately holding on. But look, we're already at a 13 trios remaining in the lobby. Just ahead of Braids here. You have Peterbot's trio on high ground. Acorn, Boyo, and Angers trying to make a comeback. Kanata showing life in this last game as well here to kind of kick things off. Meanwhile, Clix, the Obzo, and Higgs on the low ground rotate. 7 Elans already for the trio. Make it 8 as they catch Yusuf on the rotate here.
It's a big pickup for them because they even just now found that medallion. Something that we do see Yamza, Clix, and Higgs go for time and time again, but now they get another far pull with the rest of the lobby, and there's nobody down there but that one team in front of them. Everybody else stacked at the side of the mountain, and even the south part of the zone overall. And Cold Ritual, Peterbot using that to their advantage with everybody trying to rotate too early, forced to box up because of damage. They're using that as an opportunity to smoothly move through the zone as Peterbot lands a good shot onto a full trio up above, and now they're the ones getting focused.
And Peterbot sets that up for G-Monster to jump in and actually take down Japco. So that's going to be a difference maker for Muzz's trio, but Muzz fighting back up top, and then Peterbot's team turns around, catches a whiff of the chaos, and finishes up the job here. Look at the upgrades coming through for the loadout now, but still very little heals here on Peterbot's team. Cole taking out Ritual taken out by a Minish's trio from down low, and Agers from up top. They sandwich down the fire here and clean them up, but it's all up to Peterbot. Peterbot claps back onto him, Minish shot from behind. Back to the lobby now by Shadow's team, and a glimmer of hope breaks open in the sky here. The sun is shining through for Higgs, Clicks, and Yamzo, who now have a chance to earn more placement points and close the gap.
Yeah, there's at least 30 plus points left into the top 8 if they can secure that victory royale. They have 8 eliminations as well. This is a recipe for success, especially since they're now taking the front side of the zone. There is nobody down there even next to them as it leads towards the house, but up above, Agers, Poyo, Acorn feeling just as safe, if not safer, up in the clouds. There's only one team close to them, and they're immediately going to drop down low to a different layer.
So impressive. We're watching two sides of a coin here. Clixiamzo Higgs opting to play ultimate low this entire end game, and then you see the opposite teams trying to stay to the mid, stay to the high ground, trusting that the zone was going to bounce back up. However, it doesn't matter. All they've done is allowed them to put the pressure on. Braids is holding on a top 5 for him. Well done, son, but look at what's happening here. Finally now, pressure starting to come in. Clicks is going to be the first to fall. They box him up, try to go for the save. It's Booga's trio on the other side of the wall. Kanata's there as well, and they are starting to cook it up.
Yeah, that's because of their game plan. They got so much space in the front side of zone. They just immediately grabbed the body, tossed it to the front, got the revive. Now they have a chance to look behind. This is something I feel like Kelly and Vivid talked about, that they did not do enough on day one, looking to the backside of the zone, trying to get those eliminations. They already reached double digits in this game and a Final Four spot, but everybody alive is going to be full trio. Some might be stronger than other, and that's where they're trying to battle from the low ground. Yamzo quick to take a big shot with the shields. He has to figure out a way to stagger back, get the HP up. The medallion proven to be useful in this situation, but only for so long. Yamzo goes down. Clicks tries to make a miracle play, but the full trio goes out.
They tried to kneecap him out to the lobby, but it wasn't good enough. Not enough charge in the swing here. Meanwhile, Agers, Foyo, Acorn starting to bring the pressure from the high ground down. Just 4 eliminations, but this top 3 positioning here is what matters most. But will the veteran trio close this one out is the real question. Shadow's team starting to turn online here. Curve, Tyler staying at the front side of zone here. Foyo halfway through the maps here. There's that one wild card factor. Finally, they find him. It's Sphinx in the mix here. Now, Jacob, we're looking at a clean 3v3.
Yep, and already Agers going to drop down onto one side. Good damage on the curve. Poyo's going to clean that one up. Even with Agers going down, Poyo has his back. And the Major 1 champion starting in 7th place. They cook up a victory royale and rise to the top.
It's crazy because yesterday we called it Acorn. Typically that day 2 Acorn comes out and he doesn't look back. And hey man, starting things off with a game 7 victory royale's gotta feel nice for them to put them right back in the conversation. But let's watch it back from their side here. We got the best of Agers and Poyo coming out here, really kicking things off, and the way Agers was able to kind of initiate the fight and allow Poyo to just get active from the sidelines was so perfect. And you got to give respect to the Young Bucks, Shadow and Curve and Tyler there coming through. So congrats, game 7's wraps there. Zeke, what do you have for us now?
You see what I'm saying? You see what I said at the start of the show? If Poyo came out and just won a game, we could be looking at a top 5 situation to qualify to globals. And Poyo said, you know what, Zeke, you want to win? You want us to win game 1, Zeke? We'll do that for you. I couldn't have written a better script. Poyo, Agers, Acorn, I just cannot believe, Kelly, they were able to walk away the game the way they did. They just had high ground and just no one cared. And like, that's not the situation you want to allow Poyo to be in.
Well, someone cared. Muzz cared, but then he got punished for it. So it's a little bit understanding when the rest of the lobby kind of understands what happens when you try and focus on height instead of Peterbot's trio on the low ground. But Acorn, Agers, and Poyo did an incredible job. And Zeke, I know you're trying to take credit for it, but Vivid around Zone 5 said, watch Acorn, Agers, and Poyo win this game from height.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually what I was calling towards the, earlier on before we even started this game. I was like, listen, that's what I want to see from this round. I think we're going to see them on the higher ground and make a little bit of a comeback. And instantly we can see them on the higher ground in game number 1 of day number 2. And this actually started yesterday, right? A lot of people would be like, oh, wow, they might have been cooking something up overnight. No, I think this trio actually started to cook this up in games 5, game 6 yesterday, right? They were teetering around with going for higher ground. They were trying it out. A couple games, they actually got it. And that's when I was like, you know what? I think day 2, we're going to be seeing a lot of high ground from this trio, and we're going to see a big comeback from them. First game of the day, it has started.
I am liking what I'm seeing. 5 more games now. Very quickly before we go to break, I just want to shout out Courage, JD, and the Courageous. I really hope that you have an amazing party, man. When we return after this short break, more action from the FNCS. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to the FNCS game number 1 of the day. 7 overall starts with a bang. Pollo decides we're going to go ahead and get ourselves a victory royale. The standings, as you know it, Zeke, will be shaken just like you to your very core. And I am. Let's start talking about some of the things we saw from this last game, and eventually we get to the standings where there have definitely been some developments. We kind of talked about the fact that maybe at the end of the competition we could see maybe top 5 being enough to qualify through the globals. Well, with Pollo suddenly jumping into 4th place and tying Reed, Kelly, it's looking like that might be the case.
We have a tie for 4th and 5th place, and then it's only a 6-point difference between Ritual Cold and Peterbot versus Clicks, Higgs, and Iamzo. And that game 7 for Clicks, Higgs, and Iamzo was a bit of a question mark, as we like to see here. We saw Clicks go down a little early, had a little bit of a misstep, but then the recovery that they made, going for that team in Storm, getting that little bit of health back so that once they finally did rotate to the end game, they were able to control the low ground like what we know that they do. But we heard our casters call it out. Clicks, Iamzo, and Higgs not necessarily staying to the front of zone like what we've seen them do, playing just a little bit more back to go more for those eliminations. And we saw that kind of pan out. Look at the elims they're able to grab.
Yeah, I love the adjustment from the trail. I mean, they're just playing so good right now. As soon as Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual misstep just a little bit, right? Go down a little bit early. They're right there. They're playing so consistent when they don't go down in the early game to go ahead and close that gap, which is why that 6-point difference is screaming right now, right? If you're Peterbot, Cold, and Richwood, you got to be feeling the pressure from that one. Like Sigs and Yamzo, like I said, we talked about it earlier. Zeke was like, maybe they got to change something. I was like, no, they don't got to change anything. Just got to be a little bit more aware in the first couple minutes of the game. And I promise they're going to start doing well. The chase is on.
Oh man, the chase is on. 5 more games of this. Let's also talk about Peterbot, right? I mean, again, 6 points really isn't anything, right? We could see either of these trios make a mistake, fall early, or Peterbot decide I'm gonna run it clicks again, and we could see him dethroned here on day number 2. But I liked from this game, like, yeah, they only placed 9th with 3 eliminations, but clearly this trio has such an impact on the lobby.
Yeah, it's less about what they offer themselves and more so what they take away from everyone else. And we saw Muzz's trio going to kind of tag high ground there, and Peterbot able to catch them out, grab a few eliminations there. But honestly, 3 eliminations, even going down this early, is a bit of a short stop for them. And it'll be interesting to see kind of how they respond to this. We know that anytime something kind of negative or aggressive towards Peterbot happens, he tends to reverse it on that person tenfold. So I believe it was Ager's trio that actually took down Peterbot. So let's see if he pulls a Vino and lands on them.
Yeah, the crazy thing for me right there is they usually do so good at getting to the end games in a pretty healthy position, right? But as we saw right there, when they went down 0 materials to kind of work with trying to sneak away with a little bit of a kneecap or rotate through the air. Way too good of aimers on the high ground to kind of allow that to happen. 9th place, 3 eliminations for the trio. That's actually their worst game yet in this final. So we'll have to kind of keep an eye on how they're doing. I'm a little mad looking at these standings, and I'm not going to lie, Zeke. Kanata, right, in the mix, in the end game right there. 3rd place, 4 eliminations. Doesn't move on the leaderboard. How in the heck is that? Right after yesterday's day, right? A little bit of a rough one. Finally, we see him in the mix. Doesn't move up at all. I mean, still holding on, still close to the rest of the competition. But I was like, they're going to jump up, and they just didn't.
Well, man, it happens because Shadow, Curve, and Tyler decided to place, where they did this game, right? 2nd place. And
yeah,
I think it's interesting because, like, to some degree, you kind of want them to move up the standings, right? What you definitely don't want is them moving down. So I appreciate that Kanata at least kept them where they were. But of course, again, coming back to this trio, the fact that they won, we're starting to shake things up, Kelly. It's starting to get a little too close for comfort. I'm excited, but I'm also nervous.
Well, speaking of shaking things up, we've seen Shadow's trio shake things up. And again, another one of those dark horse trios that we've watched all the way back from Major 1. But for me, really what stood out about this trio was that incredible 20 elimination game we got from one of the more recent performance evaluations. Yeah. A majority of that coming from Shadow. So to see this kind of early aggression from this team, it may have taken a day for them to really lock in. But now I'm excited to see if we can get more of that ultra aggression that we saw from Shadow before.
Lock and indeed, that was their best game. 2nd place, 9 eliminations. Cool to see that. Maybe they're going to throw their name in the mix right now, but 100 points separating 4th and 9th place. Anything can happen, Zeke. I'm a little nervous.
That's fine. We have 5 more games. Just think, if this was game 11, I would definitely be about to pass out. But we have 5 games. It's fine. Everyone calm down. I'll be nervous for us. Let's jump back into the action, though, with Monster DFA's Jacob PR. Take us back in the game.
No way, Zeke. There is no time to calm down. Game number 7 was absolutely fantastic, and I expect 5 more games. Monster's been back and forth at the top of that leaderboard.
You know what? When the Major 1 final champions are in the mix as well, getting points, this is great for the rest of the lobby. Let's not forget, the better they do, the more they accumulate, the more likely other teams have a chance for those global spots. What you don't want is for other teams to be earning those points, because then they are surely getting closer and closer to stealing away one of those prestigious positions. But yes, Vivid said it best. The standings are way too close right now. For someone to have a top performing game and then not move is insane. So let's jump in for game number 8 now. The Major 2 Finals Game 8 is about to commence, and Jacob, I gotta say, it is starting to cook up to be an iconic Major Finals right now. And once again, we get to watch the dynamic play out. That last game, we got to give a hats off to the servers. We got a completely different end game, right? This is what we're hoping to see, some new dynamic coming into play. And it looks like, you know, for our Lone Wolf Layer team, Clicks and company, them being able to deploy those other strategies that didn't get to really test out yesterday seem to work in their favor.
Yeah, that rotating towards the north side, they were able to pick up more and more surge on the teams trying to rotate deep into the zone. But again, more switch ups going down. Game 2, it does look like G Money, Osid, and Bryce are going to be uncontested inside of the mountain. But you see in the mini map, there's a full trio at the top of the mountain, so they're going to be splitting as much of this loot as possible. And this is something that we saw go down throughout the course of the day yesterday, and they're just trying to make sure that they don't risk their entire game on that off spawn fight.
Yeah, off spawn, always the tricky one, especially when you're going 50-50. We saw a little bit of that yesterday from those teams as well, kind of opting to split it up. One thing was for certain, though, when G-Monster's team got away successfully in the early game without any contestation, they seem to have had really good games come out of it. So a lot of promising hope for a trio like that, but King Silic and Jargu have not let up just yet. They're looking to continue the pace here from the previous game, and King and Silic continue to do just that. But the whiff shot, oh, for a second there, the little hiccup, I thought he missed the important tag, but nope. He ended up finishing off the full trio.
Yeah, this is about this team. Silic making the plays in game number 1 to kind of lead them to the rest of the game off spawn, and then now it's King's turn. I talked about the aggression. We both did. We saw it through group stages. It's finally great to see it here in back-to-back games for them. Over towards the bridge, though, a fight that we were watching yesterday, another 50-50 for that floor loot. I think both teams kind of switching it up just a little bit. Once again, where you're at on the leaderboard means so much. Not just the first place FNCS championship, not just the global spots, but there's still a great amount of money to be won.
Yeah, and your history, right? Especially for these teams that are now starting to consistently make their way to finals. This is their legacy beginning to get developed here in real time. You know, and you got to give credits to Eulogy, Phenom, and Yusuf. I know last game was a little bit of a rough one for them, just given the circumstances, but they turned things into an 11th place game for them, really popping off. And not only that, that jumps them up to 16th place overall on the standings. So a top 10 could be in the conversation here, but they got to make it past the drop first. And Donnie, Craze, and Joji seems to have kind of taken control of the Shining Span this time around.
Yeah, they even got that elimination on Eulogy before he was able to get over that mountain. So they just got to figure out how to get that reboot card. As we turn on over to Crime City, business as usual for our first place team. Just unfortunate going down in 9th place, which left a good amount of placement points still on the board, and obviously elimination. So Flixiamzo Higgs able to close the gap to 6. But landing over towards the server room, getting the train. Peterbot immediately building up and looking over towards Foxy Floodgates. That's where you have Visual Braids and a Minish. It's just a little bit of early game surge, and Peterbot just takes most of that damage. Forced to kind of take a break here, breathe, reassess the situation.
Up in a full chug jug here. I don't blame him. Some prestigious heals getting utilized here. Visuals, you can see, looking to potentially play a cheeky little side angle right there. Higgs, Clicks, and Yamza, though. Volt secured. Now time to head out, start looking for that damage. Higgs, no upgraded rifle. We'll see if he can kind of fish for something new here shortly. Clicks, Higgs, and Yamza have pulled off 7 pickups, most of any team so far in the game. Those revives being absolutely clutch. Most of which obviously was accumulated yesterday, we saw in those final games. But still, even now, Clicks got saved in the last round as well. So crucial for their strategy is keeping the entire team up.
Yeah, it's just in part the way they kind of play the low ground, getting the front side of the zone. At times, even taking storm damage just to get deep into the zone with their builds before they backtrack. They found a lot of success in that game. If they can keep this momentum going, we can have this race all day long. But a new horse has entered the mix. Acorn, Pollo, Agers. They won that last game. They climbed up the leaderboard. They got a tying spot on the leaderboard, and they're winning the tiebreaker due to that victory royale in that last game over Reed, Cooper, and Curly. And they're sticking to the strategies. They got access to Mass Meadows uncontested, the vault with an abundance of loot, and they immediately go on over towards that black market where Acorn's the one that kind of relays a lot of those extra heals on over.
Yeah, what's really nice is they're keeping up the pacing, the momentum that they kind of left themselves off with games 5 and 6 yesterday, really setting them up big time to be in the conversation and then to, of course, initiate the tournament day 2 with a win. It's going to be the perfect storm here for them right now. And you can arguably say, you know, it's about a 5-way tie between 3rd down to 8th, right? They're all just within a couple of means points away from each other. Really is overall a super close competition. But one thing I wanted to also highlight was this trio right here. Visuals, Braids, and Diminished. My gosh, have they been playing some excellent Fortnite. Really just a sleeper team. And this is one that's been around the block for a long time, right? This is not a trio that's just new by any means, but they seem to have this season figured out.
Yeah, whether you're, you know, doing the watch parties, Fortnite Comp Report, or Ozzy himself, this is always a team when I'm looking at their predictions, Monster. They're a dark horse. They're always in the conversation. Even when Visual and Braids were a duo landing at a split drop that they made themselves, they always command that respect. And with the early game that we saw, with a Minish going down, eliminated by Peterbot, we saw Visuals going down over towards Foxy Floodgates, forced to reboot. They were still able to pull off a 6th place with 6 eliminations, which gives them that 24-point lead over 4th place.
And last game, I mean, just play from a Minish. Incredible stuff to make that push and keep this tournament run alive, keep him in the game to even have a little piece of an end game there. It's definitely the difference maker. Ritual Cold and Peterbot, though, just kind of setting up here. You can see they've already done what they had to do over at the drop. Now they're looking to kind of disperse out. Meanwhile, Kanata Bolts back on the hunt here, continuing to take these Eastern fights, and most importantly, take them with no fear of sitting in the zone for a while. I mean, look at the head count here. They found Yusuf and then box him up. Oh no, gotta be doing better than that. Yusuf somehow didn't even have his walls under control before this all kicked off, and then Bolt's getting right to it. Wonderful tags there. That's some big damage for them right now.
Yeah, even though they were able to get Eulogy back, they're not really able to do anything with it. And I like the way Bolts played it, even though they didn't need it, because as you said, they boxed him up. You saw how he went across the entire left side, let Sphinx and cut out a push directly towards his opponent. He was prepared just in case he was trying to disengage, run out. He would have ran into Bolts, but they were just too quick. Bolts didn't really get to do anything. Maybe the next fight, buddy, as he's looking towards the backside of zone, sees a full trio back there. And right now, it's essentially up to them how long they want to stay here at this spot on the map, how long they want to try to hold that team out, and how much surge they think is okay for them to rotate out.
Back on over to the Seaport City. Zone still kind of hovering around this general area, so a lot of time bought here. But you notice the markers are out. They're going to be looking to focus on the Eastern teams. Teams like Kanata, potentially, that are out there.
He just blocks it off. No. No free damage for you over there, but they're still able to sneak some through. Thresh just looking at that armored vehicle, trying to rotate in towards zones. Definitely hard to land shots, but if that third player, your trio, is in the back and he falls out, you leave him behind, it's almost open season, so you got to be careful for that one as you're rotating through. As Muzz, Rise, Yapko, you can see they're already beginning that rotation out of shiny shafts, slowly but surely, since the zone is rather close. And you can kind of see where the zone is at this time around, just inside of Lone Wolf Slaver, maybe a little bit of brutal boxcars on the side.
Nice calm here right now for the team. Rise positioned up at the surge base right now, but zone's already starting to pop here. Looks like another Eastern draw so far.
Just look around, see how many teams are still getting left behind. They have the time and the luxury to do it, but on the other side, they might not. Broken, Liam 20. No extra shields for Broken. He does have a med kit, so you can see the possibility of how long this fight has actually been going on, but there is going to be one knock on the other side. 20 goes down, so still a 2v2 breaking out, but at least Broken was able to grab a lot of that extra loot. The siphon mats could be the difference maker as the cleanup finally goes through onto JoJo. 2v2 breaking out, but a full third trio. A third party is now moving in to interrupt this fight.
So I was gonna say, Aviv, Skittles, Chimp sitting comfortably on the outskirts, watching it all go down, chipping away at damage here. They have the prime positioning, and notice what they're trying to do. Let this middle team kind of wrap things up or break it out, initiate it, so they can clean up the extra elims that start to scatter away. And one thing's for certain, they're picking up a lot of damage with the Oxy on the run now. In comes Skips and crew. Skittles Chimp already putting more shots down. Broken forced the Jug here alongside Liam. Very little time left, but Skittles is on the wall. Viv's on the other side here. It's just a matter of time before they likely pick up these elims right now. And when if you're Liam and team, you're thinking about, you know, what went wrong this game, right? They had a couple great moments where they were kind of breaking out of the early game, but things just not really trending in their direction right now.
Yeah, they thought it, since the zone had pulled so far away, maybe they had an isolated fight, but Skittles, Chimp, and Viv, kind of part of their strategy, staggering themselves this far back in the zone. They get a lot of the extra loot. They do a little bit what some of these other teams do, whether they're fighting off spawn or just trying to take shots on any teams rotating late, trying to get out of the zone. This time around, it does work out for them. And one of the big reasons why they feel so comfortable staying so deep into zone on this side of the map is because there's geysers, launch pads, then obviously if they have the kneecappers, there's a lot of different mobility tools they can use to close the distance quick.
From the highlight, how things end up working there. And I was just looking at the standings. That's going to put them up in 13th place right now. A couple of eliminations away from 12th right now for Aviv, Skittles, and Chimp. We're keeping tabs on them, seeing if they can fight their way into a top 10 after this game's over. Cooper, Ree, and Curly continuing the action here at the Flooded Frogs. So far, so good for them as far as the overall damage. Zone's gonna land relatively close here.
In that last game for them, with a little bit of a different zone pull, not have magic mosses like yesterday, that was their worst game of the tournament so far. They were still able to get a 10th place with 3 eliminations, but we're kind of seeing them really be put to work here early on here in day 2 in the feed. I did see Sillet get it down onto Poyo. Agers does look like he's still alive though. They have a chance to heal up. They have Medmis smokes, water sprites, a bunch of different utility, and they have the luxury to go back in the zone over towards Mass Meadows to get the reboot back onto Poyo. So it should be not too much hard work for them to be alive as a trio once more. The biggest thing that I'm really watching out for is with Poyo going down, getting rebooted, how much surge did they actually lose off of that?
Yeah, it's the setback that really makes the difference. But look at it. It's against Xanda, Evan, and Sandalit. Oh, they get deleted from behind. It's the small things, right? The small regrets that end up sending you right back.
I feel like it's happening more and more where you think you have an isolated fight that deep in the zone, and then out of nowhere, a third team comes out of nowhere. Visuals, Braids, and Diminished. They were able to quickly move north from Foxy Floodgates. They're trying to get the Brutal Boxcars Mountain. And if the trend continues and we have some of the same zones game after game hovering over each other, we're going to see a lot of proactivity come out of some of these teams, this being one of them. Then now, depending on where there's... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is where they positioned up last game, right? They seemed to be comfortable coming here, taking the fights on this mountain, but this time around, they wanted to get here early so they didn't have to really box out, you know, a team while getting third-partied. So they get the full wipe, and then look at that. They're fully based up now.
Read my mind right there. And this is, I feel like, one of the first times we're seeing Clixie, Amzo, and Higgs actually fight for this black market. They're realizing how close the tournament is, and they're pulling out every single strategy, going back to what they know has worked in some of those past Divisional Cup tournaments. 341 damage above the threshold. The zone is moving over towards this direction. So they're maybe learning, adapting here as the games go on.
Don't call it too early now. We might jinx it. We get another Magic Moss's endgame. Little update from Agers though. What's going on here? So Poyo picked up little damage given that he's playing the zone right now. Agers is making super sure there's no one kind of lurking about right here. Not trusting a bush, not trusting the builds. This tower is obviously still in the zone right now.
Uh-oh. It's like a stroll in the park on one side, but on this one, Yamza just takes a big shot, maybe even kneecapper on top. Clicks as well, dropped down to 105 HP and shield, forced to backtrack. At least he reunites with Higgs, where he knows he has a little bit of extra help, so that way he can finally pop those heals. It's Yamza the one that has a little bit of worry. I say that lightly, though, because he already has the elimination onto Tony. That's going to help with the Siphon, the extra materials, as they continue to push forward.
Actually caught the second elimination there as well, so look at this. Last game, they kicked it off with 4 elims in the early game. This time, they're finding some mid-game critical fights here. And then they get to secure the market and everything in between right now. This is actually perfect. And then you look in the outskirts, there are other options as well, right? You have to think about how those teams are likely thinking that they need to get into a surge fight as well. But if you're Higgs, Yamza, and Clicks, they got a brief glimpse of how well set up they are right now.
It's just unfortunate. Creon's by himself, and they have some extra HP down below, so they can literally outstay their welcome over there. Rise, Yapko, Muzz, still slow to rotate. Pulls further and further towards Brutal Boxcars. Again, that mountain range that some have invested into early on might have been the fruitful play that works out. But with 845 damage above the threshold, they really don't have to worry about anything other than making it to zone. And it sounds easier than it actually is, because you saw what Trio is waiting at the other side.
Somehow, some way, miracles are true. They weren't spotted out. They could see Ritual and Cold moving their heels out of the base. And look at how quickly they end up boxing down. But hold up, Aegis, Acorn, and Pollo not letting up the pressure here. They ended up tailing that team that just got the pickup right off the outskirts on the bridge. And it's G-Monster and Osid who fall now to the hands of Aegis, Acorn, and Pollo. So big set of eliminations here. We talked about them being out of damage. They're only 181 above after picking up 2 eliminations, so it shows you they could have been 500 or 600 behind just moments ago.
Oh. You know where it's going, right, Monster? You know where we're headed, right? Maybe they can take the train, because we're going to Brutal Boxcars is what it looks like. That mountain range that some invested into might be worth it, as Jojo Fishy trying to pass Peterbot. He gets taken down from one player to the next. Aoxy feels that same pain, and they felt it twice in the same game, because remember, they were trying to disengage as a solo. At least he got the reboot attempt onto some of his teammates, but these are the things you really just have to watch out for. And that's only their second elimination so far, and they're almost 600 above the damage threshold.
You guys see why Muzz and team were like, oh, wait a second, we're not going to get by this base. That's exactly what happens. They were looking to dive onto the next team they saw for sure. Sphinx, Bolts, and Kanata, though, 113 damage below the threshold. This is obviously one of the worst positions you could be in here. And they have a decision to make. They're going to go 5 splash down and then into the box here. So Aviv, Skittles, and Chimp are an option. And then you have Cooper's team down low. Ooh, Rhea, Cooper, Curly have to be counting their lucky stars, because Bolt, Sphinx, and Kanata are on the way, and they're hungry for an elimination here. They need damage. Nothing just yet.
This is not good. Sphinx goes down, eliminated. Active Storm Surge means you're not going to get knocked. And they're just falling further and further below, from a little bit over 100 to now 321 damage below the threshold. That's close to 2 full eliminations on the players. And it's something that you got to be careful for, because they don't have any extra heals, no shields, no HP. Luckily for them, they're able to look to the backside of the zone and trying to land some shots, but it bites them in the end. Aviv, Skittles, Chimp, they might have forgot about him, but they didn't forget about you. They turn on to Kanata, get that elimination, and force Bolts into a mad scramble.
Tough spot to be in here now. And although he has to play defensive, you kind of can't, right? Like, you don't have the luxury, you don't have the time. There it is, things are active. Sees a base, goes into it, Amplify cleans him up. That's gonna be the end. Team Kanata there. Cooper, Rhea, and Curly take full advantage of the fight that they hear break off next door. Meanwhile, Muzz, Rise, and Japko, no troubles in the world right now as they go for an early rotate to try to get to this zone. And I'm a little curious if this was the best way to go. There's a huge body of water. Team's already set up on this side. Just gonna have to watch it play out.
Just trying to heal up. I can sense them passing around that chug jug before this rotation, just to top everybody off. Rise peeking through. And they got to be careful here because, like you said, they have to go over that open body of water. Now they're one of the last teams to rotate on over it. And if anybody is going to be below surge, they're definitely going to be looking back. And on the other side of that bridge, they're going to run into Clicks. They're going to run into Yamzo and Higgs. And they're just putting pressure on every team that has to rotate through that water.
Jacob, I was asking myself, what team could it, like, who pulled the zone right there? Like, who's set up already on the other side? Big body of water to protect them. It's Clicks, Yamzo, and Higgs with the prime positioning. Talk about key real estate right here. This is a perfect position to be in. Not only that, they have the natural elevation and the high ground up above them as well. This is where you want to be right now. Not too comfortable. You can see Clicks just kind of staying on his toes right now. Replay coming in for Cold, Ritual, and Peter about those. They're finding eliminations right now. Mind, those are points, right? Starting to rack up there.
Trying to close that gap. 6 points. It's not much now, but you definitely cannot let Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual continue to get more and more eliminations as each game passes. It's almost been the trend. 69 above, though, for the Major 1 champions. They've had a few struggles in this game, but they're always figuring out a way to make it work. The zone cuts back just a little bit in their favor, and that gives them the option to look across 2-3 teams over there. That's going to be their target. I was literally just saying you cannot let them pick up these eliminations, and there goes Peterbot getting another knock onto Cynics.
The end game is just starting right now, and they're at 5 elims, so talk about really hitting up what it matters. Zone's gonna pull far east though, giving up all that water. Straight into the landmass we go. See, most of the teams already have migrated here. 2 trios trailing behind for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. Trying to decide. It's gonna be the first move for them right now. Big lobby pressure coming in off the Chimp, Skittles, and Aviv. Down low.
I think they figure a lot of these teams are going to have to rotate in their direction, and that's going to be the best chance that they got to try to catch some players off guard. Some damage able to sneak through, but not much. But this is the zone. Kelly really broke this down to start the day. They pulled it on the front side and immediately built up. Booga, Threats, and Rapid. And they were the ones who closed out game number 6 with a victory royale. And so it's going to be interesting to see if they can actually close this one off. They're looking across and seeing who is actually going to try to make the play to contest them. Where this next zone pulls monster is going to be so pivotal on Threats, Rapid, and Booga's next moves.
You can tell by Booga's body language there. He is eyeing up Reed's base. They are a little too close for comfort to second height. Wouldn't put it past him to dive in, but look at this. They just can't get a break. Agers,
wow.
Oh, Acorn and Pollo get eliminated in 14th before the real placement point starts to kick in and kind of add up, but it was a struggle of a game just to even get this far. Clicks, Yamzo, Higgs, though, they have not stopped playing the perfect frontside low ground all weekend long, and they just continue to do so. Another top 10 is just moments away.
You see the huge difference, though, in their inventory this time around. The Mythic Collateral AR, the extra splashes, they did make their way on over to that black market to try to take use of their Lone Wolf POI. Peterbot looking to chop down high ground, but they got to be connected somewhere else. And that's the thing that they're going to look for it, but instead they run into Craze on the other side, but they're not backing down from any challenge, especially now since they know they're going to have to rotate. And you see them looking through the wall, eyeing that team before they rotate on out. Just trying to be very, very precise about their rotation, and they even change LAers during this next pool. And now they're looking up. Peterbot knows if they want high ground, now would be the time to try to take it.
Yeah, they wanted to chop it down, but it's connected to the steam stack there. He didn't see or notice the fact that it is just going to be there and set up, but Clicks, Yamzo, Higgs under the Gold Rush splash effect here, continuing to rotate. It seems like they pull a little bit of a favorable zone on the low ground as well, so that's going to be perfect for them. Meanwhile, Booga, Threats, and Rapid managed to re-secure the base here, so all that material count doesn't go to waste, but Peterbot doesn't care. He's had enough of high ground shooting down. He's starting to eye up Booga. And we know what he does. He used that kneecapper so well to retake high ground. And then the full commit jumps to the front side of zone. Threats is there to back him up. Booga, Rapid, come on in. It's an all-out fight inside the box. Threats gets put down, though. Peterbot is showing up once again. This time, he wants to win, though.
Yeah, he took that high ground by force, and you saw when they all jumped over, Booga, Threats, Rapid, it's like they jumped in different directions. Threats was just left by himself in the Lion's Den, getting eaten. every chance that he gets, and now the game has just changed. A huge threat is going to be on the high ground. Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual. They didn't get the win that they wanted in game number 1. They got the gap closed by Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs, and now it's their time to reopen that spread.
What's most important is that they stay alive right now. Everyone has to stay up. Ritual, though, takes a huge amount of damage right now. Someone ends up contesting them for high ground, and Ritual falls first. It's Cooper, and it's Reed who's here now, showing up as well. But look at the fight. Isho and Vert show up, too, for a little bit of high ground. Everyone wants a piece of this, but Peterbot's had enough. Once again, he's here to fight back.
Taki thought it was safe. He thought it was easy, but sidelined by Pete. Cold goes down. Ritual as well. Peterbot able to get a knock on the one, but he knows he can't clean it up just yet. Vert's still down below, but he's getting backed off. Backside of zone. Peterbot still has the Siphon available when that elimination finally gets cleaned up. So he has all the time in the world here to look back at the Vert and figure out what he's going to do. And he has no chance to contest this high ground. Still a good amount of builds left for Peter as well as a solo.
The only team trio up is Clix's trio on the low ground. Look at how many eliminations they have managed to secure here. They are running away with things down. But Peterbot is still in this game, still looking to earn points, still looking to keep that gap from opening up any further. He's already at a total of 11 elims with the trio here. He finds Donnie as well, still finding more, and then finds Vert, making sure that he's securing the points here. He says, you may be winning the war on the low ground, but I'm here to take it all home. Hold up, Peterbot finds Higgs, and now the Cypher's starting to cook in. Another shot out to Clix, and he is still going right now. One thing's for certain, he's gonna keep the pressure up and make it nice and close, but in the end, Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs secure the dub.
And it just leaves me asking one question. Were those eliminations that game from Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot enough to make that 11-point difference from the Victory Royale mean absolutely nothing? This is what we wanted. The entertainment. This is Cinema Monster.
It's crazy because it doesn't matter if you win the game if you're letting Peterbot's trio earn all of those extra points. He's just taking away the padding that you could have otherwise secured, but you have to give so much credit to Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs. Just a perfect, they are playing absolutely perfect front side low ground end games right now, and they're cleaning up house. Iamzo with the final shot there to win the Victory Royale. Clix, Higgs, and Iamzo do it once again for game number 8, Zeke.
Jacob PR, hold me. This is cinema. I cannot believe. Okay, Kelly, was there a moment where you believed Peterbot was gonna 1v3? Was there a moment where you thought,
Yes.
oh no, are we about to get 1v3? It's okay, Clix! Look, it's me and you! It's me and you. They got themselves a Victory Royale. That's what I like to see, but man, that was a very scary game. Peterbot went wild, but obviously I love to see from Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs that they were really kind of leading the charge as they do on the low ground, right? And while everything else is happening, they're like, hey, just stick to the plan. I know it sounds like a bunch of stuff's happening and we could go for those eliminations. Let's just go for the win instead.
I mean, and they did it to a T, like what we've seen them do time and time again. Around zone 9, they're kind of playing in the back a little bit. They had so many more splashes than what we've seen them, and they utilize that. We can understand why that's such an important part of their strategy. And getting those splashes, you get a little bit of a speed boost. You are able to control the front ground. And then while all the chaos is happening on the high ground, David, and that was definitely the most chaotic high ground we have had this finals for North America, well, low ground just kind of gets free elims.
It's so awesome. We're just so entertained, right? We're all just staring at a high ground, right? We got Peterbot's trio up there taking the high ground, defending the high ground. We're like, holy moly, who's going to win this game? And then we look down. Monster makes a call. There's only one full trio alive. It's Clix's trio. They're putting on a clinic on the low ground. For the observers, it was like pick your poison, right? No matter who you picked right there, we were going to be entertained. Not very often, right, where we watch one of the most entertaining parts of the game happening up on the high ground, and there's so much going on the low ground. But what an incredible game from Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs, just taking full advantage of it. And this is what I was mentioning, right? They are not faltering at all. Does not matter what's going on, right? If your trio's going down on the high ground, they're going to be popping off on the lower ground every single game. They have figured not only this meta out, but this finals out, and it shows every single time ever since they started yesterday in game number 3, outside of, game number 6 yesterday, where of course a little bit of a falter. They have not placed outside of top 2, 3 of those being wins. They're playing so good.
This is insane. And just to think, I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it right now, okay? Because of that game, there is a 3-point difference between Ritual Cold and Peterbot and Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo. But who's in first place? We'll find out after this break. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to the FNCS. I cannot believe it, but Clicks, Yamzo, and Higgs got themselves yet another victory royale. However, for a moment, it looked like Peterbot was going to 1v3 them. Guys, I'm going to say it. I'm so sorry. The mental game, Peterbot's in my head, okay? Mentally, I thought, oh no, Peterbot might just 1v3 Clicks, Yamzo, and Higgs here because they were just on a tear. And like, you know, Kelly, once Peterbot gets going, it's so unbelievably difficult to stop him.
It's really funny. Anytime Peterbot does poorly in a game, you can almost expect the following game to be just absolute nonstop W king from him. And I love that. It's something that we've seen from Peterbot now for the last year, where he needs to prove himself if he doesn't have the perfect game. And this was very close to being the perfect game. An incredible height take from Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, where it almost didn't really pan out, but they went back forward again, able to control high ground, even when Vert went for this bar for bar 1v1 against Peterbot, which is quite the feat to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible game. And, you know, me, Zeke, Kelly, we're sitting here, we're getting ready to kind of come back to the show, you know, we hear in our ears, yeah, hey, we, you know, Peterbot stuff's ready, highlights ready. It's like over a minute long. We're like, wait, what? And we're like, yeah, we also kept it short. And we're like, wait, what? It's incredible. So there's just not enough time to truly understand how good Peterbot really is. And I give a big shout out to Jacob was all right, because we're like watching this, and as soon as the Elim comes in on Higgs, Jacob goes, oh no. He's like fully prepared for the 1v3 to happen. But that being said, that Peterbot solo clutch right there somehow holds on to first place by just 3 points.
Just the most ridiculous run, right? I mean, again, this was Peterbot as a solo. That's almost more dangerous when he's by himself. Like, I can't even believe those words are coming out of my mouth.
Oh, I do.
And yet it happened. Kelly, I mean, he's just crazy.
I mean, you look to the global championships and you have game 11 there where Peterbot eliminated like 8 players in 2 minutes. And I think actually in Major 1, he did the same thing potentially in game 11 as well. Peterbot is known as this insane player going for these solo clutches in the end game. And Zeke, you keep saying, oh, I thought he was going to go for the 1v3. Peterbot essentially went for the 1v5 and eliminated 3 players. He got Donnie, he got Vert, and then he got Higgs. It is, no one else can do it like Peterbot. So even if he's not winning, who cares, because he's able to get so many elims.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible stuff. I mean, we could talk about our top 2 trios for the rest of the day. We could just stop the competition right now and probably talk about them forever. We do have some other trios who are, of course, playing very, very well. We got Braids, Visuals, and a Menace. They are still holding on to 3rd place right now. Pick up, you know, another good game. Still continuing that trend. Zeke only having 1 game outside of the top 10. This game, they're going to pick up 7th place with 5 eliminations. So staying consistent in terms of that. But I mean, you know, our top 2 contenders, Kelly, they're running away with it. But it's very, very close. Towards like 3rd through 6th right now.
Of course, and that's what we're looking for, right? Braids, Visuals, and Menace making their way to the global championships over some of our bigger teams, the Big 7. I mean, if you look at our leaderboard right now, it is what players consider the Big 7, but if you replace Visuals, Braids, and Menace with Kanata, Bolts, and Sphinx, however, they're not stopping yet either. They are still in our top 10. And Zeke, we have 4 more games to go. It already feels like the end of the tournament because so much has happened, but we're barely halfway through.
Even just look, Kelly, like, look at those numbers. How many of those are zeros, as in those players haven't moved? And how many of them are going 1 point up or down? This competition is so close. Like, yeah, of course, obviously we're trying to tell this nice little story, and then Clicks and Peterbot over here just like blowing stuff up. We're like, okay, I guess we have to look at that too. Like, the competition is close with 4 more games left to go. Let's jump back on that battle bus. MDF, Jacob PR, take it away.
Yeah, look, no doubt. I mean, we're going through a roller coaster of emotions. I feel like I've exhausted the pipes here. I mean, we still have 4 games in front of us, and it's looking like every game is a fight for the championship right now, Jacob.
Yeah, and it's looking like it could be some of the most important games of Fortnite you will play this year. 3 spots for the Global Championship, and it gets exponentially harder with only 2 spots in Major 3. So, honestly, it's now or never for some of these teams at the top of the leaderboard.
Well, one thing's exciting right now, it's that 3-point gap up the top. You know, Peterbot making sure that Clicks has to stay on his toes. You don't know now when they just want to pull the trigger, or will Clicks pull something out of this sleeve? Well, we're here to find out. Let's jump on this battle bus one more time.
Monster, when this game ends, the tournament will be 75% of the way over. And that's really where it's going to start to get interesting. 3 games left, not enough time to make up a point deficit. So I'm thinking there might be a potential. We saw Peterbot land on Clicks. What about the other way around if the point lead over everybody else serves it?
That's exactly what I was starting to allude to with how Clicks, Higgs, and Iamzo, or, you know, had the whole night to sleep on what all unfolded yesterday. You have to assume that they now, too, took that exact strategy into account, right? There might be a point in time where they say, you know what? Before they can do us dirty, we probably should do them instead. So we'll just have to figure it out. And then I'm also thinking about, is 600 points enough to make it to global championship? Those are a lot of points. But then I start looking down at the standings. You know, it's only a game and a half difference. So this game 9, game 10 are absolutely critical to Clicks making it to the global championship spot. Well, in the end, it is Absolutely incredible Fortnite at play here. High action, high caliber Fortnite underway, and it just doesn't get any better.
No, it does not. And you're seeing why every team, including Craze, Donnie, Joji, Yusuf, Yuji, and Phenom on the Shining Strand Bridge. Yesterday, most of the game, we saw them kind of going all out 50-50. Drop on one of them floor loots and quickly go to work. This time around, both games, they're choosing to try to disengage, play it out. They might not get all the loot that they want off of their spawn, but at least they got a shot to try to get more points, move up the leaderboard, try to get in that top 25 where you can actually make some money.
I respect it. You know, like last game they did something similar, but you know, at the end of the day, they were in about 16th place. So when they survived the drop and they kind of play things out, they're just working their way up, chipping their way up. They jumped up to 14th now, so they're kind of in the running for getting closer and closer to the top 10, which I kind of have to appreciate. What do you think about Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold here, though, playing for the medallion, it seems like, here at the train?
Yeah, business as usual for them, but you see the two arrows off on the side, two different bases already built. That's the trio, Visual, Braids, and Aminish. This is how they get a lot of their early game surge. And obviously, after Peterbot secures the loot that he wants, he quickly turns around, tries to accumulate a little bit of surge on his own. But because of how long it actually takes to get the boss down, to get the medallion, usually there's a lot of shots like that coming from the other side.
I was gonna say, it seems like they were getting a little too close for comfort there. I thought for a moment we're gonna see Visuals, Aminish, and Brace just dive in on the two, but it seems like they know better than to take that risk. What is happening here from coned up to fighting back? Jaxie finds himself fighting out of a absolutely unwinnable situation for most, but all of a sudden he's looking at a 1v3 right now. Siphon kicks in here, and he's right back in it, and then the double edit. That was too smooth, but Noah plays, Chaos Gaming and Kaz are here to rain on his parade. Jaxie, unfortunately, won't be able to celebrate much longer. Look, he's at 6 elims, 2 team wipes, and then sent back to the lobby. My gosh.
That last elimination was pretty tough, though. He slid. He was safe. So it was great for him to kind of pick that up. You said 6 eliminate. At least they got 24 points for this game. Could be the difference maker depending on where you're at on the leaderboard. And that's where Kaz was able to quickly break. And there was really no time for him to react. The full trio was already there. Jumping on top, closing off every possible escape scenario. As we jump aboard Clixie, Amzo Higgs. Much closer this time around than we have seen in some of previous games past. Clix is going to be the one leading the charge of trying to get that Storm Surge first. The Amzo Higgs still looting up underneath the vault and all the surrounding land to try to get a lot of those extra heals up here in this base so that we can have a smooth game. Ooh.
They want to be absolutely sure to find Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold if they decide to try to sneak up on him. And this is why they're all kind of positioned up, like you mentioned, really closely to one another, but all with different angles, right? Looking for teams lurking, kind of sliding up on them. You have to also take into account, like, those shots they just put onto Peterbot, you know they know, right? Like, they're still at the lone wolf layer. But what are they thinking right now?
Probably just being very, very precise. And you kind of mix in a little bit of that last game, so they're just trying to get and see where a lot of these players are rotating to, mainly on over towards the black market. As Yamzo taking that other angle, looking towards the south, spawning out one of those towers in the distance and immediately trying to go to work. And you're seeing in the minimap as well, marking a team up there in that last game as one of the first times we were able to see them access that black market underneath Magic Mosses. And it helped so much. You saw the collateral AR. They were able to get at least 4 different sets of splashes on top of it, something that weren't able to do at all in day one because of a lot of those north zones.
For Ishutaki, though, a big box fight right here. Taki's already taken out. A lot of credit to this team that tried to play for high ground, try to put the dub up on the mark. Came up a little short, but out of respect nonetheless. And unfortunately, Ishu just forced to completely give us this entire situation up right now.
Yeah, it does look like Seek and Veer are still underneath. Might be a 3v2 situation, so a blessing that they came in to crash this party, because now that Solo is going to be able to get out and get a chance for the reboot, but Veer being pushed back. A lot of these are his builds. That's why you see Creon playing careful, and you see that they're the ones that made that quick jump on over to Black Market this time around. Mythic Collateral AR is just shredding through these builds. Big damage onto Veer. Another elimination cleaned up with ease, leaving Seek by himself in a 1v3 situation, and immediately they spot him out, get him to move. Those audio visuals being the difference maker as they get wiped out of this game.
That collateral AR so good when it comes down to keying in and keeping the pressure going like that. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, though, getting right back into the fighting action here. And what's so interesting is that they're fighting the team that Clix's trio was just eyeing up for surge tags here. And it makes you wonder if they are hunting right now, kind of on the warpath of Peterbot's team, just trying to see if they can find them out, bait them in, wait for them at the edge of Storm, right? This is very intentional right now.
Yeah, especially since I mentioned them being able to access the Black Market on the side of Clix and his trio. Zone is pulling towards the south, so this would be one of those scenarios with the Storm Surge they got early on in the game. They can backtrack, but now you just got Peterbot in your path. A 3-point lead, and he's not straying away from these risky plays and these big moves of rotating towards the north and trying to cut off that whole team. But there is going to be one player, that last Solo, still in the minimap down below. You see him just above Lone Wolf Lair, just south of what Peterbot's initially at. And it does look like because of that third party, he is going to be able to stay alive.
Yeah, this is some significant, you know, tactics at play right now. Like, you're watching them almost literally trying to position themselves to get into a fight with Peterbot come the mid game. We'll be keeping eyes on it. How Clix and Peterbot, the gap continues, but for Phenom, Eulogy, and Yusuf, fight breaking out kind of inside the Storm right now against Shadow, Tyler, and Curve. You know, up until now, we've seen also Kanata's team here, but not quite just yet. And as we just mentioned, we knew they were trying to get in on to Clix's trio. Who'd have thought they'd push all the way up? Of course, after taking the rotate through the porta body, now a full fight's breaking out. Peterbot hurt, though. Iamzo is here to fight. No time to choke now, though. This is for the championship, essentially, right here.
Yeah, this would give either one of these teams, assuming they finish at least in the top 3, a big lead going into the last 3 games of the day. Peterbot, Cold, Ritual choosing to disengage. Zone pulling all the way towards the south. They say, hey, we're just going to go ahead and go back on over towards our Black Market, our Crime City for now. We'll meet you later inside of the zone, because now both of these teams know which outfit their opponents are wearing. But Click's getting some good damage on somebody trying to move through that porta potty, forcing the remaining 2 players to just wait and expend a lot of their materials.
I was going to say, it's so important that they pressure right now to really make sure they set back Peterbot's trio as much as possible. But you got to give them a lot of credit defending off Peterbot's team, coming in fully healthy, mind you, with all the resources, right? Peterbot's trying to pull the same type of tactic they did yesterday. Just put Clix off of the ball game, right? Push them off their Surge strats, reset them, make them kind of fall in the mid game when Surge gets active. But this time they were prepared, and it seems like, I don't know, man, maybe they pulled the trick out a little too soon yesterday.
I almost feel like, you're an OG, you've been around much longer than I have. Is this one of the first times we're seeing a team really just take control as much as Peterbot is going for these early game fights? I mean, rightfully so, Peterbot does want to win. They have such a huge lead over 3rd, 4th, 5th, everybody else down below that leaderboard. So maybe he already has his global championship spot, almost guaranteed top 2. It's worth the risk for them, especially since this one is personal almost between Peterbot and Clix. And this is bragging rights. This is more than just that.
Yeah, Jacob, look, you know, I've casted 25 FNCS finals. There has never been a team to do what you're watching right now in an active online tournament, like in this way, right? Really trying to make sure that they position themselves to be the front runners, and then finding someone so close to them, deviating the strategy to say, you know what, we have to adjust. Like, this is what we've always wanted to see from high-level Fortnite, and it's great to see Peterbot and his trio kind of take the lead there, right? So all credits to Ritual and Cold, because there aren't many teams that would do this. And of course, the GOATs, Vino and Queezer, were the ones that kind of kicked this off, right? Showing that this is possible. You can make these type of iconic plays. You can almost cement yourself in Fortnite history as legends if you do this type of stuff. And I think they're leading by example right now. So this is the first time we've seen it here on NA, and I think online in general in this type of way.
It's just incredible. All these years later, records still being broken, history still being made, and entertainment at its finest. We're the true victors out of all of this that is going down around the lobby, as Higgs in the feed does get elimination onto the tick. You see rapid threats in Booga. A little bit of a slower pace for them this time around. Just outside of that qualification spots, but the points are so close. All it takes is one good game to change the course of your own history. This time around, everybody having to rotate in from the north. Foxy Floodgate is going to be the most north POI as of now. As we check out how Higgs was actually able to pick up that elimination, just sneaking up on a couple of players. And as I said, zone moving towards the south, which gives a lot of freedom to Clicks, Higgs, and Yamto to move back on over to that black market and seeing if there's anything left from Creon, Tony, and Noisy.
I was going to say, you know, you got to think about how, you know, because Ritual and Cold were there, they kind of cut off the black market for a little bit.
Yep.
Likely looking at Clix's performance and saying, hey, you know, what's changed from the days before, right? It's the fact that they had access to this black market. We talked about how significant that is. But look, there's other teams kind of here still waiting about, so they're not out of the woods just yet.
Oh man, they're getting confident up above. They're knocking on some doors, trying to take some cones, eliminate some options just in case this fight does progress longer than they'd expect. But great shots coming out of Yamzo yet again, opening up the fight, slowing down at least one of those players. But Vert landing some good damage onto Clicks. Both teams trying to tunnel around, build some extra space. That way they can try to make that move, but it's the low ground right now that is on a little bit of a disadvantage, so they need to figure out a way to make a play as Clicks just gets hounded yet again. Dropped down to about 75 HP, looking for a way to survive.
Forced to pop a second med miss here now, so this is really starting to come down to the wire as far as the zone pressure is concerned. It's going to come down to Higgs and Yamzo. We've seen a lot of clutch plays from them throughout the weekend. Really have never seen a better Clicks and Yamzo. They seem to be in peak form. Clicks here, still on the back foot right now. 51 damage put off right there. He's going to win that trade. The edit was there, but unfortunately the tag couldn't follow up in time, and this low ground, I was going to say, really difficult to play off of. It seems like the zone gets the knock for Yamzo, and that's going to be the go sign for them. In here they come with the kneecappers are out. Taki's there, but no! The pre-fire shotgun onto Clicks takes him down. Higgs loses his shield here. It's going to be up to Vert to come through, and Vert actually finishes off Clicks. Think about what this is going to do for the damage as well. This is an extremely big elimination right now, and a time waste. And Maniac was just here. This reboot might not even be up. Oh, it is.
This is just crazy because you said it yourself. What does that do to the damage? Remember, early on, it was Clicks the one on top of Lone Wolf Lair in their base, getting a lot of that damage while his teammates were the ones looting up, getting the gold. We'll see how it turns out for him, but Cold is down as well. Monster. 6 games today, and already it's been toe-to-toe, back and forth between the top 2 trios, and again, we're in a dire situation. Even though they are going to get that revive off and the elimination cleaned up for the Siphon, it still puts them in a spot to where now they have to follow backs into zone, and they're so far back.
Can I just say how smart that was? They left it down body until they picked up Cole, so the Siphon kicks back in for Cole. Like, the little things that happen at extreme high-level Fortnite is what makes me love this game so much at a competitive level. And look, they are back like they never left. They are just not looking to make any mistakes. This is incredible stuff.
Those little differences really mean much, because now they don't have to use a med miss, they don't have to use a med kit, no bandages, no worries there, at least not for now. And again, I always say this, they're looting their POI yet again. They don't even necessarily drop there and loot the whole thing. That's from time to time you see extra teams come in, try to grab the scraps as he dips his toes into the water. The gold splash water that runs through Crime City. Get the extra speed boost, faster farming speed, and that's where he's going to be maxed up on materials in no time. And not too far away from where the zone is pulling now. And this is where you're seeing a lot of teams utilize that gold splash water, just dipping their feet in. They get the speed boost, they get this pickaxe speed boost. And then if they do have that kneecapper, then they're definitely going to close the distance with these.
I mean, at this point, I'm more concerned if, like, storm sickness is going to kick in. Like, they are playing deep in the storm right now. We still got a lot of Fortnite to go. The North is still kind of playing the zone right now, so very favorable short rotate for them. It might force them to tank a little bit more than usual. I'm just trying to keep all the options, open at the moment, but Shadow, Tyler, and Curve right now on the move here, playing this kind of high ground, trying to see if they can have a position here, but Noah's already set up. Visuals and Minish are there. Take a look at the highlight from Agers, Acorn, and Pollo on the eastern side of the map. This is what happened last game that set them back. This time, they don't lose Pollo, so they're going to be able to maintain their damage, kind of carry this momentum into this end game right now. Another mountain in play here as well, so seems to be a repeating pattern.
Yeah, almost everybody on this edge crossing their fingers right now, saying, please come to us on the eastern side. Don't pull up that mountain. Don't give us a max pull. Well, guess what? Fortnite doesn't really care how your fingers are crossed or what you're wanting. We're just going to give a max pull anyway. Agers, Pollo, and Acorn. This is something they've been feeling almost all weekend long. And the difference is exactly what you said. They were able to pick up those eliminations. They didn't go down, not rebooted. So this time around, with a similar rotation as last game, I expect them to be very, very much higher when it comes to that Storm Surge.
Sitting in the Storm right now, tanking for position here. Japco, Muzz, and Rise could be setting themselves up for another victory royale here. We've seen when they kind of get these types of zones and they get this high ground positioning early, they've turned them into top threes, second places, and victory royales. Do keep in mind, this is a 2-tick zone right now, so again, a lot of tanking right now. Ritual, Pewterbot, and Cole still tanking as well. If they just look over that way, they might actually be able to take them out the sky for a moment there. Seems like a fight's breaking out.
And as of this game starting, they're only 69 points away from that top 4, which would be a qualifier spot because of Ritual, Cold, and Pewterbot in first place. So they know these last 4 games are going to be some of the most important Fortnite they're going to play, especially during this major. Pewterbot, Cold, Ritual. They're able to get that mountaintop just south of their actual POI. They're 1,100 damage above the Surge, and they're looking toward the back. That player is in zone. They get the knock, the tick, and that was a player that already got rebooted in this game. Down again he goes.
I was going to say, we saw him hiding before by himself. Seems like he just couldn't catch a break. And those are some important points right there. And look at that. He's just going to go for the material. So Pewterbot opting to jump down. Big upgrades here as well, potentially. All in all, a pretty great elimination for him.
Yeah, and they knew it was relatively safe because they traveled from that side of the zone where, no, it was closed. Nobody was really there without sacrificing damage. One other team might have been Muzz, Rise, and Yapco on the other side, but a little bit of a far pull for them. But since they're so high up, they could look down at teams like Bugha, Rapid, and Threats, figure out where they're rotating, and either mirror that rotation or just simply use their builds against them. But they are going to beat off Bugha, Rapid, and Threats. Yep, they're cutting them off down the side of that mountain. So not only are they going to get position inside of the zone, they're going to get priority over every other team.
Yeah, one thing we're noticing, it's almost like Pewterbot, Cold, and Ritual right now are playing as if every team they're encountering is Clix's trio. They're trying to put themselves in position to directly gatekeep out all the northern teams. They are looking for the fight right now.
I want to say same thing could be said for Kanata, Bolts, and Sphinx, but they're fighting all weekend long. The most distance traveled in the tournament, and they're 137 above the threshold. One of these zones coming towards the south, they got a little bit of priority position. They got to be careful from the left side where they're kind of blocked off, but other than that, they're able to kind of take advantage. A lot of these teams stuck below inside Canyons Crossing. There's a huge elevation differential, and they have to climb that mountain in order to get in the safe zone.
Let's take a look at 98 above here for both Sphinx and Kanata, so not out of the woods just yet. They need to stay active right here, find one of these teams and just kind of break open the fight. Looking at things from the wide shot, Clixiamzo and Higgs find themselves below this surge. That's that damage that we talked about being kind of the setback for them here and now. They're not the worst team as far as being underneath, but they're right on the line there. Great tags for Clix to start making up for lost damage here. That has come out, put him right inside the zone. Med miss already being utilized here. From Higgs' side, they're also getting active there. Seems like Rapids team's the one under fire. Now pressure coming in. Ooh, a far zone pull for everyone on the lobby. Very few teams are going to be able to find themselves safely on the right side of the fence here.
You see a good chunk of the lobby in the minimap trying to make this rotation early. They don't want to get caught behind. It's going over into that kind of divot between Canyons Crossing and the Shogun's Arena. So yes, getting down might be easy, but where this zone pulls up any one of these mountainsides, you have to start preparing a few zones ahead, maybe conserve as many materials or find an elimination here like Pollo Angels and Acorn trying to do. 20 is going to be in their line of sights. Active surge on him as well, and it does look like he might be going down here in a moment. Can they take advantage of that? Either way, they don't want to because they know they don't want to get caught in the backside of the zone. And you see him even charged up the Haymaker, but on the other side, Higgs goes down, clicks in shambles. Yamzo no shields. Even with 6 eliminations, this puts him in a dire spot.
Yeah, that looked like Booga coming through with an armored vehicle. Like, I'm not sure what just happened, but Higgs gets sent flying. And I was just going to say, this is one of the few times where being late on the rotate here will actually put you in the better position because it's coming off the top of the mountain. So Clicks, Yamzo, and Higgs, although they're a man down, they are in a much better position here overall. However, they've lost so much material now. And look at the wide shot right here. Japco, Muzz, and Rise opting to continue to play for ultimate height. You can see this puts Clix' team kind of at the low ground. Pewterbot right in the middle of the pack here, trying to potentially opt in to fight for height here shortly. Gonna be a Western pool, Jacob.
Yeah, this is going to be tough, too. Even though most of it is on even ground at the bottom, it does slightly move up the side of that mountain. So you really got to be careful. For Yapko, Rise, and Muzz, looking down, putting pressure will be the key here because even though that might not be the team they're looking at now, but Pewterbot, Cold, and Ritual are going to be just underneath them. And instead of prioritizing a little bit of elevation, Pewterbot is just trying to get ahead of this, try to look at it later, something that we see them do time and time again. Exactly that. They have to be careful because up above, down below, pressure coming in from all angles. No choice as he quickly slides to a safe spot down below. I would be a liar right now, Monster, if I said that didn't make me nervous.
I thought it was over. I'm not gonna lie, but he was way faster than I was on the reaction speeds there to go ahead and save himself and break the fall. Smart play to give up the height there. You saw how dangerous it was getting, but it's not looking good right now for Clix. And Yamzo, Clix taken out here. Yamzo left to solo clutch this one out. Placement points are just starting to add up as well. We're in top 11 territory here, but there is so much action unfolding. Look at this. Pewterbot finds another set of eliminations, and they're at 10 already with 24 players remaining in the game.
That was a full trio. They just wiped off the side of this mountain, and the zone's going to continue to pull further and further over. And they're going to go ahead and sacrifice the HP, trying to make a smooth rotation upward. Muzz, Rise, Yapko still up above. They need to figure out a way to target down below. Down is going to be Yamzo still by himself. You said it now. No materials. He's trying to farm what little that he can, but there's still so many dangerous players in front of him, including the full trio towards the right. And it's going to take down Yamzo, Clix, and Higgs.
So he falls inside a top 10. This is really going to start opening up the placement points here for Pewterbot. They already have the elimination lead, and this is where the gap will start to grow here. But first, they have to pop off. Ritual's going to fall. Pewterbot gets crunched down to just 14 HP, and then taken out as well. Cold here does his best, but he gets sent back to the lobby. So scratch those placement points out of the way. The race continues to remain extremely close. Muzz eyeing up all that loot from Pewterbot down low, but there's no room to jump down. Muzz, Japco, and Rise looking to be one of the few teams to pick up multiple victory royales here on the day. What an angle from Muzz. And there's the refresh he was looking for. Really taking this game into his own accord here.
They've come close so many times this week, and this is the one they don't want to let slip through. But down below, another team they got to watch out for, Reed, Cooper, Curly, and they are just dominating everyone in their path. The full trio gets taken down, and now it's 2 trios and a solo that isn't going to last long because Kanata goes down. 3v3 situation. Muzz, Rise, Yapko up above. They have the elevation and the advantage, but everything gets chopped down, and now the battle's going to begin. A Haymaker is winding up right now with the kneecapper. He's trying to charge it up, waiting for somebody to peek out of that box and make a mistake.
He tries to free swing right there. Japco is absolutely ready. There it is. It's charged up, but he misses. Hits 1, hits 2. Cooper still alive, though. We'll get the Siphon Muzz in a one-on-one against Reed here. How good can you be here? The jump shot out the side, and Muzz gets straight it out. It's all up to Curly. This is his moment to show everyone what he has. What does it take here to be another winner? Can you take game 9 here? Curly versus Rise. Things are starting to heat up. The pressure is rising, and Curly hits the shot that matters most. A second victory royale now for himself here on the finals day.
If we were in person, Monster, I know Curly probably be pointing over in that direction and said, you guys could have had me. You guys could have had me on your team winning this game, but you chose to go with somebody else. And now it's a decision that'll go down as one they will regret. And that is a big win for Curly, Cooper, and Reet, because remember, at one point or another, they were tied in that 3rd, 4th place position. Well, there's not going to be a tie anymore.
It was so crazy. You know, for it to come down to the wire, you would have thought Jabco, Rise, and Muzz was going to get that second victory out. But unfortunately, Reed, Cooper, and Curly heat up and cement themselves in the conversation here. They're like, wait a second, guys. We want that 3rd place spot. We want to try to fight for 1st. And it was so intense here. What a way for this to go down. Look at that. Turn this thing around here. Curly hitting the shot, and then Rise unfortunately couldn't find his tags there. There it is, the big victory royale here for game number 9 for Reed, Coop, and Curly there, Zeke.
That has to be one of the most disgusting shots I think I've ever seen. Jumping down that mountain mid-air and just one-pumping that player. Yo,
Yeah.
that was crazy. Kelly, you should be doing a Zeke right now because Reet got a VR.
Well, you were just talking about that moment, and it was Muzz versus Reet, where Muzz jumped down and got the elimination onto Reet. But obviously, there's only so much you can do when it keeps coming down to these 1v1s. I love it, Vivid. I love that it's not just these 3v3s now. We're almost getting this kind of like masterclass of 1v1s in final moments. But obviously, big shout outs to Reet, Cooper, and Curly grabbing their victory royale. I love to see them jumping up the leaderboard finally. Actually, I'm excited to look at our leaderboard because they have been one of the only teams in our top 10 to not get a victory royale. So finally to see them come all together, controlling the low ground, especially when you have other low ground teams like Clix's trio or Muzz's trio who was on high ground, when they're everywhere else, you can kind of like navigate the story.
I chalked this game up to a Muzz, Yapko, and Rise win like hours ago, right? I saw it, I was like, spawn back up the mountain. This is easy win. I'm not even going to watch. Hold up. Curly did what? In that end game, did Curly find a llama, by the way? Because we tuned into his POV and he had 60 builds. I mean, Rise has got to be like punching his desk right now. He's like, how does this guy still have builds? He stood no chance in that 1v1 because it felt like Curly had like infinite materials, could keep blocking him up, kept building up, kept coating him off. And at the end of it, when Curly finally hit that final shot, he still had like 40 builds to work with. I don't know where Curly ended up finding so much wood from, but it definitely helped him in that 1v1. What an incredible game from Reet, Cooper, and Curly. Like I mentioned, I kind of chalked that game up to a Muzz win hours ago, right? It looked like it was so clear as day. I don't know how they managed to rotate up the mountain, keep themselves in a healthy position to actually go ahead and win that one. What a game from that trio.
We are just being fed some of the best Fortnite ever right now, and obviously the first 2 trios who are out in the lead went down early. More on that in a moment, because first we go to a break. When we return, we'll let you know what happened. We'll see you real soon. I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away. We are halfway through day number 2. And this is just getting crazier. I know, Kelly, it has flown by because we are just getting some unbelievable moments here in major number 2. All right, so obviously, Reed, Cooper, Curly, congratulations on your VR in game number 9. But as we bring up the standings, we still see 2 Titans at the top fighting back and forth. One to reclaim his title, to take back his first place. Another to get their first win as a champion. And it is so unbelievably close. I mean, guys, to see Peterbot and Clix be fighting this out